Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanisko's Learning from Leaders podcast, where we talk anything and everything related to digital fan engagement. And such a pleasure to be joined today by Gary Lee from Sportradar. Hi, Gary. How are you?
I am doing fine. Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure having you here. And just before we start off, I'll just give a quick intro about Gary. He was born and raised in Southern California. That's where he is right now. And Gary has developed a passion for building communities around amazing sports franchises. And he grew up rooting for the Lakers and the Dodgers. We'll talk in detail about Dodgers Nation here as well. Currently, he is the VP of Content Strategy at Sportradar. And after a few stops at the Walt Disney Company, SB Nation, Fansided, and Genius Sports. So, welcome, Gary, to our podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of stops that I've had, so it's been a fun career so far.
Yeah, absolutely right. So yeah, I think I'm expecting nothing less than a fan engagement 101 from you, given your track record and your background. So yeah, this is
Uh-huh.
going to be fun. So
Yeah,
so how
hopefully,
we're
yeah.
going to do this? Yeah, how we're going to do this, Gary, is you know that we're just going to ask you a few questions, and you can talk about your own experiences. You can talk about industry trends and examples of what you've seen around happening in this arena. So, and we know that a lot has happened in the last 1 year given the pandemic situation. So, obviously, we'll touch upon that as well.
Mhm.
So, perfect. So, the first question is predominantly around how teams have pivoted around digital fan engagement in the last 1 year with the pandemic causing disruptions. So, obviously, your experience of what you've seen and how the industry has emerged or developed or changed, XYZ, all to you.
Yeah, the pandemic definitely is like the top of mind for a lot of people. How's that affected sports and entertainment in general? It's been pretty crazy. I think the it's not like people were dumb. I think everybody in the industry knew that this day was going to be coming in terms of switching people over to wireless or mobile devices. We've heard about ticketless entries to stadiums. I mean, I've experienced ticketless entries into stadiums. The wireless talk, the RFIDs and all that kind of fun stuff. But I think the pandemic really accelerated the learning adoption because you go where the money is, right?
Mm,
So if there's no more money with the ticket sales because they weren't allowed into the stadium, then how else are you going to make money off the fans that are so passionately involved with the team? The team is nowhere without the fans.
right.
And if there was any year that a fan needed a getaway, distraction from what real life was, it was last year. So
Yep.
it was really important, I mean, to the world, that all
Yep.
these sports teams, leagues, really understood that the power that they had and the technology that was out there, and
Yep.
quickly adopt and use it so that they can start getting their fans, just serving their community. That really
Yep.
is what it's all about, and maybe it wasn't through ticket sales, but maybe it was through augmented reality or through some
Yep.
better use of Instagram and Twitter or social media platforms.
Correct.
Understanding what kind of content belongs in each platform, using the numbers that they see in their analytics to say, okay, you know what, we're not going to put a 30-minute video on Instagram or a 30-minute video on YouTube. We're going to have to slice that up, because then we can give the fans that breadcrumb to get them to the real site so that they can be mentally ready to consume a 30-minute video. So
Correct.
it really was a lot of, just, I think they were forced to, because the money led them that way.
Correct.
They want to save as many jobs as possible, and then being able to look at technology and find vendors to help them solve some of the problems that they had.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely agreed. And I think one critical element coming out of this also is that, we just saw a recent study which concluded that 92% of your fans in the modern day don't go to the stadiums, right? So I think now
Mhm.
what's also happening is that there is a kind of a mixed bag approach taken by teams to cater to both segments of fans. Earlier it was all about the physical stadium where you have billboards, you have sponsors, you have your experiences, game day experiences and stuff. But now, they're also catering to the other segment, which is the bigger segment, the 92%, excuse me, which is kind of, not defined by geographies, not defined by locations. It could be anywhere in the world, which is kind of a
Exactly.
huge market, right? So it has opened up a
Right.
lot of opportunities, is how I look at it.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely, when you're looking through the world like this the whole time, which is what the sports world has been doing for the last 80
Yeah.
years. Like how can we sell them more hot dogs? How can we get them to buy more alcohol? How can we get them to
Yep.
buy more merchandise? Those
Yep.
have been the main things for fan engagement for the last
Yep.
80 something years, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's just a matter of this pandemic saying like, okay, let's start, looking outside the stadium. What can we do? Yes, you're absolutely right. 92% are out there. You know what?
Yep.
I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so I didn't get to go to a lot of Laker games or Dodger games, but I wish that I could have,
Mm.
and like I know how that feels and like what you can't go to the game. And most likely if you can't go to the game, you're not buying at that time like the $120 satin purple jacket that you can wear over to school. Like you just wish that you had that. But so you do whatever it takes to show off your fandom or to,
Yep.
become a fan of that site,
Correct.
so now going through like the digital offerings and having to like collect digital, I mean, I guess these digital rights, or not digital rights, but digital assets, such as like,
Yeah.
the Top Shots things with NBA, anything NFT related, those kind of things. As this starts to evolve, I think fans are going to be appreciative, and then you're going to have a better chance as a team or a league
Yep.
to create more ambassadors for your team. That guy at the barbecue that wears everything Lakers, that
Yep.
he's a super Laker fan, but every time you watch a game with him, he lets you understand the game. He teaches you everything, and then he
Yep.
brings in more people. So you want to be able to, increase your chances of getting more of those kind of fans so that they can help spread the gospel and
Yep.
create more fans for your team or league.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, the first step towards digital fan engagement is identification. And, once you know these are your high value fans, how do you reward them? How do you kind of monetize them as well? So that's the key
Right.
towards, yeah, digital.
Yeah, it's the stories that you want to tell,
Yep.
like becoming being a Laker fan and Dodger fan in Los Angeles. It's been
Yep.
amazing because we had two amazing broadcasters. We had two amazing play-by-play. They were great storytellers.
Yep.
They would tell you, in context why you should appreciate this moment. And
Yes.
those are the things where there's 4 to 5 generations of Laker and Dodger fans here in Los Angeles who have experienced success.
Yep.
And those successes are stories, and those stories gets passed along from your grandfather to, from your grandfather, and you listen to him, and then like he's the one that says you're not allowed to be a Clipper fan. You are allowed only to be a Laker fan,
Yeah.
And so, those are the stories that, that need to be told in different platforms.
Yep.
And that's where Instagram can tell you a visual story, Twitter can tell you a text-based story, and then like
Correct.
YouTube can tell you a little bit, a mix of both, and then your websites can give you, a different feeling. It's all different mindsets that you want to address when you're creating a sports experience outside of the actual game, or maybe out during the game. You want to create even more outside of the jumbotron and the kiss me cam and all that kind of stuff. You want to create that outside of the stadium, and that's where
Yep.
a lot of fun is had.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, so I think now that we've spoken about the disruptions, and the changes happening, let's come down to a bit of specifics now in terms of use cases. What are some of the great examples or use cases that you've seen in digital fan engagement and sponsor enablement in the last 1 year?
Sponsorships, I still don't see an amazing job with sponsorship yet. Right now, just because somebody has come out with a fan engagement initiative doesn't mean it's great. It's just a
Yep.
fan engagement. And just because there's not a lot of them just doesn't mean that this one's the best, And I think
Yep.
it's going to take some time, because right now fan engagement, the e-commerce side of tech, they've really gone into it, like they understand, like buying a car,
Yep.
like that car industry knows that this person is, they're already 5 to 7 years into their car. They know that they're aware that they need a car. They
Yep.
know that, they have to come up with all these commercials to make aware, like, you want to buy this car. And then now you need to buy this car because you have a family, you have considerations. What cars do you want to consider? And then after consideration, you want to convert them into buying your car.
Yep.
So sports, fan engagement in sports, they kind of have to learn a little bit about that, about awareness. It's not just, you take awareness for granted. Just because you're the Lakers doesn't mean everyone's aware of the Lakers. What does the Lakers or what do the Dodgers mean?
Yep.
What have they done in history that makes them that you should be aware of, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
and that's where aware and then consideration. Should I be a Dodgers fan or should I be an Angels fan? I mean, there's only one baseball team in Los Angeles, so you're going to be a Dodgers fan, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then from there, it's the conversion. It's like, come to the ballpark, come have fun, or go to your local sports bar, dressed in your Dodgers gear, and enjoy the game with
Yep.
your fellow fans, where you're going to learn little things about the game to make you aware of how special this game is, right?
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
fan engagement, like sports leagues, they're still new in learning this, I think, this approach, right? Because they've taken it for granted for so long.
Yep.
It's done so well. It's really the last frontier for digital to conquer because it's live,
Correct.
right? It's a live experience. It's just a genuine experience. And this is where you just got to leverage that moment and, give the fans as many stories as they can tell to get out there. So examples, I mean, 10 years ago, it was more about like, okay, TV and radio. That was the only way you're going to consume your sports. Maybe some
Yep.
forums, And then now, like I saw maybe opportunity to use social media services to aggregate all that stuff and provide a service to the fans so that they have one place to go. Because at a certain point with the internet, it just you have too many options. And then
Yep.
as we know today, you don't know really who to trust,
Correct.
And then what you try to do is you try to provide them a consistent service. You provide them the news. You try your best to be as quality as possible. You try to, the most important thing is consistency, and then also empathy to understand where they're coming from. So really understanding where fans are coming from is going to help you have better fan engagement. And I always tell people, they always say like, oh, I want to create a Dodger site, or they want to create a whatever site. It just never lose that perspective of fandom.
Yep.
I mean, right now the Dodgers have some good stuff with there's an AR booth. You can sit in there, and then it's something where you can see the players sitting right next to you after you make it in the AR booth, right?
Yep.
Fan engagement. Disney, when I was at Disney, I mean, I remember talking about this at the parks, like digital scavenger hunts and like just understanding where you can go. And really the key is trying to get fans to use their phone as an extension for themselves, and then introducing new stories and new elements and new educational opportunities for them to appreciate, so they have a reason to latch onto the team again. There's a reason to latch onto Disney again. There's a reason to latch onto Disneyland again. So it really is, I haven't seen much, and it's just this industry. There's a lot of people creating some cool stuff. I bet you there's a lot of cool stuff out there. It's just they haven't been given the right opportunities by the right sports and teams yet, because these sports and teams, like I said, are still kind of like growing, and they don't know what they need yet. They don't know what they don't know yet, too.
Yep.
And then once it matches up with the visionaries in the startup world, I think that's when you're going to see that tipping point of getting to a fun 10 years. Like I think the goal is the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles.
LA.
I think that's when you're going to see an amazing experience for everybody in the world. I cannot wait for the entire world to experience the greatness of Los Angeles digitally. Because I know they can't get out here. And if they get out here, they'll be stuck in traffic for 3 hours. They can't get anywhere. They can experience Los Angeles, and I think that's going to be the beauty. That's when we're really going to start getting close to the peak of technology.
Agreed. Yep. Yeah, can't agree more. I think completely agree when you say that, teams are just scratching the surface right now when it comes to fan engagement. There's still a lot more to explore and even kind of, experiment with. That's something which just the forward-looking ones are trying to get into, and and that's a very meager population amongst the entire ecosystem, which is looking at that. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I gotta give more credit to the Dodgers. Dodgers really are the number one social media site, number one team in baseball that engages their users with social media. Their content team, their marketing team, top notch. And the kind of access that they're giving fans, like especially last year during pandemic, was first class. They
Yep.
have on the Instagram, it's one of the best copywriting, one of the best copywriting I've seen, and like they really know where the moments are because they understand who the fans are, what their fans are looking for. And then like
Mhm.
they just redesigned their stadium with a lot of points of interest. There's a
Yep.
lot of Instagrammable spots at Dodger Stadium. It is the most beautiful stadium in the country. It has the most beautiful sunsets in the country. Like bar none. There's nobody who's competing on that. And
Mm.
like we have beautiful fans too. So it's just really everything about there is just about engaging the fans, giving them the assets to engage, giving them the assets to create,
Yep.
and then tell the story better. So, before we jump to the next topic, I just want to make sure like those are like the best examples of fan engagement I've seen is
Mm.
that they're not forcing fans
Yep.
to engage. They're laying it on the table and saying, "Hey, use
Pick
it,
and
go ahead."
choose.
And that's a
Yep.
way of engagement. Yeah.
Mm. Agreed. Absolutely agree. Yep. I think it has to be subtle. It can't be forced. Like you said, it has to be a way to kind of give the fans the freedom and the opportunity to pick and choose what they want to engage with in terms of, content. It could be anything else as well.
Right.
Yep. All right. Now that we've spoken about the recent examples and trends, let's talk a bit more about futuristic trends. Where do you see key success factors in fan engagement in the future? Is there anything specific in terms of technology or in terms of a specific offering which you feel that is going to be a blockbuster move in fan engagement?
Um, yes, with I think measuring the fans' engagement, that's going to be key, right? So
Hmm.
the analytics, and then creating a marketplace that's outside of the teams making money. I guess
Hmm.
I would say it's always been, this side of it where the teams and leagues and broadcast media were dictating what kind of content is coming into the sports arena or in the perspective of fan.
Hmm.
Now it's opportunity for the fans to create content and then using their abilities to create moments themselves around a sporting event to match up with the leagues and teams. And then you can really do a lot more, have more opportunities there. Like, for example, it could be, fans' reactions to, because we know how popular that is on YouTube, like fan reactions, right? But having
Yep.
a real fan reaction to a genuine moment
Hmm.
at that time, I mean, those are amazing moments that you're going to capture. And guess what? Maybe some fans felt that same feeling of that fan at that moment and wants to be a part of it, wants to own
Hmm.
it. And that's where NFTs come in. And the
Yep.
NFTs is just another fancy digital word for memorabilia. It's just digital
Absolutely.
experience memorabilia. It's
Yep.
unique, only one of them, and that's the one that you're going to get. And then from there, it's just people talk about cryptocurrency and all that kind of stuff, and it sounds like kind of cryptic, of course. But from there, you just have to say like, how much is that worth to you? And then the value of it, like what's the value of art, and seeing if that there is,
Yep.
a way to exchange these valuable moments for some kind of currency, then there's a new marketplace there that's fan driven and it's enabled by the sports and teams. And that could
Yep.
be something in the future. And then this is all centered around content creation tools like augmented reality or new video tools or like I don't even know, like this, like Snapchat and stickers, and just like the way people create new things that make you smile on Facebook or on Twitter. Like there's so many creative people in the world. It's the same thing. It's just that they never had the opportunity to showcase that. But now with the
Yep.
internet, it is the democratization of
Yep.
information, and so like whoever, and there is a meritocracy to it. If you do well, you will be rewarded with attention, and then what
Yep.
you do with that attention is that's on you. That's like a cook. If you're really good at cooking, but you decide to give it away for free, that's your choice. If
Yep.
you decide to do something and then make a restaurant, then that's your choice too, but you're able to monetize it. So it
Correct.
really depends, just giving the market all the new tools in order to create the new trends, you
Mm.
know. But
Yep.
AR really is a big one. I
Yep.
really see, we're talking about experiencing LA. You can't do that without AR. And maybe even
Absolutely. Yep.
VR. I don't know where VR is going to be. Everyone has tried, but I
Yep.
think there is a combination. I think it's just we're not absolutely there yet. Maybe AI is going to fuse those two to make it more easy for us to consume.
Yep.
Um, it's just you see all these like not conveyor belts, like those treadmills that you can run on while wearing a VR. Like you can experience it, and then like maybe by the Los Angeles Olympics, I challenge any vendors out there. I dare you to make the AR Olympics, and then
Yep.
that way average people can compete against the regular Olympics and see how poorly they perform.
Yep. Yep.
So that'd be the real fun in it, where fans can engage. Because look at NBC, they just had the lowest ratings ever in their Olympics. I
Yep.
don't, maybe because there's other more important things happening in the world right now, maybe,
Yep.
or maybe because they've been using the same broadcast template that they've been using since 1984.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most successful Olympics in Los Angeles.
Yep.
But that was innovative back in the time, and you had some guy who helped create the NFL Network. He understood TV. See, so we
Correct.
need people who understand the internet,
Yep.
fan engagement, to really lead the charge on how you're going to change up your broadcast. Use QR codes in your broadcast and download the app. Or hey, look, right now, put on your VR mask, scan this, and you're in the 100-meter race against whoever. And let's just
Exactly.
see how well you do. We'll give you a 5-second buffer.
Yep.
Bingo. So it's just these kind of ideas just need to get out there and just test. And that's the fun of just life, innovation. It's
Yep.
why not?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And it was funny when you said about, whoever has a creation, can convert that into a collectible. And, whenever I hear this thought, that joke comes to mind about the Italian artist who created an invisible sculpture and sold it for $18,000 because it was in his mind. So, it's
Yeah.
like, it's amazing.
Value is a uniquely human thing. And
Right.
value is a thing that only I could determine. Like, I value that. I value his idea of an invisible statue, and I own that now. I own that idea. That's where the currency exchange can be.
Exactly.
And it's just human nature. I see, I want, or I see, I want to share in it with the community. But,
Yep.
In today's world, it's like, what are you going to give me for it? And
Yep.
that's where we're going to have to figure a nice way out of this,
Yep.
and maybe currency isn't the future. It's just a good bartering system that'd be really good, but you never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so up next we'll talk about what you have done of late with Dodgers Nation. I think that's something which we would love to hear about in terms of fan engagement and initiatives that you have done to bring the community closer together. During the pandemic and even now that things are opening up.
Right. Dodgers Nation. It was created. The first site I created around communities was mainly it's called Lakers Nation, and
Yep.
that one. It was, I was a huge Lakers fan, and then it was used to actually prove some theories out while I was working at Disney. So I did a lot of SEO, so search engine optimization. From there, I understood, link building, and then social media, and then email marketing, and all this kind of fun stuff. And then I had a theory about a 360 approach to building a community site. Used Lakers Nation to prove out that model. It did really well, and then sold it into a partnership that didn't work out. And those are the things that happen in life. And it wasn't the best experience at the moment, but then us old people like to say you learn from it. And then
Yep.
looking back at it, a lot of this stuff that happened in my career wouldn't have happened if I didn't sell that the way it happened, the way it went down. So
Yep.
then the way it went down, I walked away with Dodgers Nation, and I really had to teach myself baseball and understand it. I grew up rooting for them, but I never really understood. I never played Little League. I just parents, my mom, couldn't afford it, and didn't have the time to take me to Little League practice. And it just, I understood it because my friends played it. I knew how to play catch. I barely knew how to hit. But having Dodgers Nation, it taught me the game. I've watched every game. I appreciate the analytics behind it. I appreciate the strategy behind it. And it's just something that I gravitated towards. I still love basketball, but now baseball really is something that is just amazing to me. I try to share my love with it with as many people as I can. And that's the spirit behind Dodgers Nation. We try to be the one-stop shop for everything Dodgers, because I know that there's just not enough time, to look around the internet. I know there's
Yep.
so many other things to do in LA that besides looking around for Dodgers information,
Yep.
and the people in the city, I love when you drive around the city, you're gonna see someone wearing a Dodger hat. It's just the way it's the Dodgers are just they're like they're definitely just woven into the fabric, the culture of this city. And that's a great thing. You meet so many great people. So that site has been great. We have, full-time staff. They write a lot of content. They watch the games. We do our play-by-play on Twitter. So I don't just say, oh, the players suck or where the players make a great play. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to offer a service as this type of fan engagement community, right? So you
Yep.
want to give them the service, give them a reason to come back. And then you try to find that little moment between what the Dodgers can officially say and what fans say and shouldn't be saying in front of their children. And then like you have that fun spot right there where you can really enjoy the game and you get different perspectives from different people so that you can learn
Yep.
about the
Yep.
Dodgers. And then you use your different venues. Like our Instagram has grown tremendously. Our YouTube page is a thing that we've focused on this past year and has done really well. We have great talent. And in the city of LA, there's so much good talent. And
Yep.
really the proudest thing I am for Dodgers Nation is that we had a good internship program before the pandemic. We were
Yep.
bringing people from all over Southern California that wanted to do an internship, learn digital media, learn what I knew from whatever. And then I would give them kind of my philosophy on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud of the people that have come through. We've had full-time people, and this goes back to Lakers Nations Day. We have full-time people in sports at Bleacher Report, over at the Dodgers official station, at the Lakers official station. They worked at Bleacher Report, or they've become beat writers over at for MLB teams. They've become social media managers for MLB teams. And so to me, that's what I'm most proud of. Like, I work at Sportradar because that's my job. Like, I love this stuff. And
Yep.
with Dodger Nation, like I said, it was created out of just trying to prove a theory. And now it's grown into a monster. And now, I have a great team that's running it.
Yep.
It's my way of still trying to maintain my fandom. And that way I can keep a fresh perspective on the Dodgers, and also gives me a fresh perspective, a unique perspective from a publisher standpoint and a community standpoint, to see what we can do to help other communities around the world.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because it's a completely different business model to compared to a traditional sports team or a league based approach. And that
Yeah.
kind of brings me to my last question in that regard. What are the considerations for a fan community site such as yourself, in terms of executing digital fan engagement? How different would this be compared to a team? Because your audience is obviously the same fans who are the fans of the team, but then you being a community side, how do you approach it in terms of being different to the teams or to the leagues of the world?
I mean, the considerations is, we have different goals than the actual Dodgers. The Dodgers' goal is to win a world championship, I hope,
Mm-hmm.
to succeed on the field. Create a product that will attract fans to go to their stadiums and consume, the drinks and food, and then buy merchandise. And then, those are and then also be interesting enough where the TV broadcast rights are there. And then, you can sell commercials and then be on the radio. Like, they have all those revenue streams that they can
Mm-hmm.
do. Like, our goal is just like keep the fans informed, keep them engaged, let them talk about things that they're the crazy Dodger fan in their family. They're the ones that dinner that they want to talk about the Dodgers, but the rest of their family is like, shut up already. It's like we're that place where you can talk with other Dodger fans and really think things through, and then really see other perspectives. If I think considerations for us is just like, we consider what the fans are always thinking. Like, we try to keep it there. We have our live streams. We have our podcasts. Fans chime in all the time with comments, and we get emails all the time about, hey, what do you guys think about this or this? And those are all great story ideas that we spark conversation with our articles. And then the comment section, really, we try our best to keep it clean. We try to do our best to let conversation happen naturally, And that's where, we talked about before, we're giving them experiences around experiences so that the community is tighter and they're looking out for each other. So
And
other
I guess,
considerations are just analytics. I say I was just like seeing where the fans are trending towards. That you just got to always stay on top of that kind of stuff, and where the best content creators are, and seeing how you can collaborate with them. Those are the things where it's more enjoyable. I always tell my guys, I'm like, the party's more fun with more people.
correct.
So if we can work with more people and collaborate, then it's going to be a lot more fun and more fruitful. And at the end of the day, that's where the networking and the people you meet is going to be what you remember, not any kind of paycheck that you get.
Correct. Absolutely right. And I think that's primarily one of the reasons now that you have an app as well. For Dodgers Nation as well, right? So that kind of feeds into that strategy and that philosophy of bringing people together into one single platform.
Yeah, that's looking at the trends, and looking at like, okay, where's the opportunity there? Was, we looked at, if you type in Dodgers app, I mean, what do you have? You have your tickets, you have your seat, like your stadium guide, you have MLB's, whatever, it's just basically a score center, but where was the community? Where's the feelings? Where's the trivia? Where's the videos? And videos of not just the play after play, because you can see that in Sports Center, but like videos of people's thoughts and like the creativeness of the community, where they're making memes or they're taking segments of the game or the segments of whatever and then recreating it in their own interpretation. I mean, those are just the beauty of the app, is that it's just a tool. It's another tool for people to use to consume. And, there's so many more things that are coming for the app, the AR aspects of it, and like the content creation to share on social media. There's so many new things. And we're just talking like a year or two out. When we're talking 3 to 5 years out, what's the next thing? And then 5 to 10 years out, what's the next thing? I don't know yet. I just have to keep on reading. Every morning I try to do my best to keep up to date, but then also network with the right people, such as yourself, and just see what you see and what I see, and we can compare notes.
Yep, agreed. Yep, everybody listening in, do download the Dodgers Nation app to check it out. It's really cool. Has a lot of interesting things, like Gary pointed out, in terms of AR, in terms of gamifications and videos and content, everything into one app. So that's your one-stop shop for being a Dodgers fan.
Right.
All right, Gary. So fascinating discussion. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your inputs. And looking forward to being in touch and understanding what you're up to in the next few years.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Okay. You take care.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye-bye.